Namaskar students. So again we are here with the video for the same chapter which we have discussed earlier, that is sorting of materials into groups. In the previous session we have learned the materials are being classified based on their different texture. They could be hard, soft, they could be different in their luster, in their state, in their different properties. We also learned what is matter actually made up of. We learned the difference between the words, two different terms, that is elements and compounds. So now classification of materials. Materials could be classified based upon their different properties. And the process of sorting and grouping the things according to some basic property is called as classification. So we can categorize the objects based upon their different shape, material used, like we can classify as wooden objects separately and metal objects separately, or we could classify them as into different uses. Like in kitchen we generally separate the things into separate compartments. We have a separate cabinet for snacks, we have a cabinet for spices, for oils. This way we group the things in our kitchen. Materials can be grouped on the basis of similarity or differences. It could be similarity or difference in their appearance, solubility, transparency. All these characteristics we'll learn in detail today. First is metallic luster. Some materials have very shiny appearance. So these are said to have a good luster, like gold, silver, copper, while non-metals they don't have any luster, like gases, sulfur. Depending upon the hardness and softness, some materials could be compressed easily on touching, but others could not be. They are very smooth to touch, some are very rough to touch. So that is the difference in their texture. If you touch a silk fabric, it is very smooth and lustrous. But if you touch a jute fabric, it is not. It is rough in texture. Depending upon the state of matter, that is solid, liquid and gas. In solids, the molecules are tightly packed. That is why the solids, they have a fixed shape and size. They don't change. About liquids, the molecules are comparatively less tightly packed, so they have a fixed volume, but they don't have a fixed shape. They acquire the shape of the container in which they are stored. And last, that is the gases. The molecules are least tightly packed, or you can say they have very less intermolecular forces of attraction between them. That is why the gases, they escape quickly. As soon as we burst a balloon, all the air escapes out. As soon as we spray a perfume, the whole room starts smelling good. Yes, because the molecules, they have been scattered easily. Next property on which we can categorize the things, that is solubility. Substances that could be dissolved in water, they are called as soluble substance, like dissolving of salt in water, sugar in water. Insoluble substances are those which could not be dissolved in water. Like if I want to dissolve chalk powder in water, sand in water, or oil in water, so they cannot be dissolved. Now when we are talking about liquids, we use the two different terms, that is miscible or immiscible. Oil in water, they form an immiscible mixture because they do not mix well with each other. But if I mix water with milk, these are said to be miscible with each other. They are soluble, they mix with each other very well. Solubility of gases in water is very less. But yes, some amount of gases are there dissolved in water. That is how aquatic plants and animals, they are able to breathe. They take the dissolved gases and they release carbon dioxide also there in the water itself. Now based upon the transparency, we can have three different types of objects. One is transparent, opaque and translucent. Transparent objects are those which allow the light to pass through them. A glass, water, these are all transparent objects. Even the air, because the air is present around us, still we are able to see the things. So that is, it is allowing the light to pass through. Next is translucent objects. These objects, they partially allow the light to pass through. So the objects which we see through them, they are partially visible. Example could be butter paper, old glass door also. Next is opaque objects which do not allow us to see through because they don't allow the light to pass through them. Example could be wood, iron, gold, your textbook. You cannot see the person sitting behind the wall of your room. So these are all opaque objects. Now the next parameter we are going to discuss here is density. What is density? Density is mass upon volume. Density gives us the mass per unit of volume. So an object which has a lesser density will float, but the object with a greater density will sink. Here in the picture you can see, in the first picture the object is floating completely on the surface of water, so the density is the least. Density is maximum in the last picture because the object is sinking. So if we put an ice cube in water, it floats because the density of ice is lesser as compared to water. But if I put an iron nail in a glass of water, it sinks because the density of iron nail is higher. So today we have learned the different properties, the different categories on what materials could be sorted out. It could be on the basis of their shape, the state of matter, their luster, their texture, solubility, density and transparency. I hope you understood this session. Thank you.